Your AI agents are forgetful. Every time they run, it's like talking to a goldfish. But what if they could remember everything? Who said what happened last time, and even pull in information from your docs or PDFs. Today, I'm going to show you how you can connect your n8n workflows to a super brain by connecting it to Zep. Now, the problem with existing AI agents is that they use the simple memory node inside of n8n, which is this node here. So if I go inside of here, you'll see a context window of 5. And what that means is that it has the previous 5 chats available inside the conversation. Now, this is very narrow because it can't go outside of these boundaries beyond whatever the chat is. Now, you could increase the context window to 10, 50, or 100, but ultimately it's still very narrow, right? It can only have a conversation with whatever has been said in that context window. This is why Zep is so interesting, because Zep is an open source knowledge graph, like memory server. And you can see here that I've actually created one for myself. I was testing it earlier and giving it some inputs, basically about conferences, about what I do as a content creator, the types of automation summits that I've been to, etc. And every time I input some of this data, it will then create a new entity type. So you can see here, one is an entity, one's an assistant, one's a user. And it will then create relationships between them. So you can see that I'm scheduled to go to an AI conference in Tokyo. So that's been scheduled. You can see that as a relationship there. If I scroll down, you can see Agentic Automations focuses on AI Automation Summit in Singapore. Then I've got AI helps with Agentic Automations. And this is basically based on my conversations with the AI agent. So let's test this AI agent. I'm inside of the chat and I've just put in here, Client Blue Widgets needs a social media posting bot. How do you recommend I build that inside n8n? So I'm just going to wait for that to run. And you can see that basically it's going into the AI agent. It's going to use Google Gemini 2.0 Flash because it's just fast and it's free. It's then going to access Zep, which is obviously the memory store. And I've actually included a Perplexity node because Perplexity, if you remember from a previous video that I created, you can actually search the internet and it can bring back citations. And then what this n node does, this will then trigger the API, which will then update the memory store inside of Zep. So you can see it's coming back with this data/n. I'm not sure what that is. I think it's just some kind of bug that's going on at the moment whilst I'm recording this. But if I go into update Zep, you can see the output from the AI agent, which was I'm able to provide specific advice on building a social media posting bot inside of n8n, as I do not have the capability to access external platforms or internal tools. That's fine. I just wanted to see how far I could push it. It's then outputting this to Zep. Again, it's showing up with this, which is fine. It's just a display bug. But if I go inside of my knowledge graph inside of Zep, you can see that if I just zoom in, it's now updated the knowledge store with n8n needs social media posting. Let me just zoom in a bit more. Needs social media posting bot with Client Blue Widgets. So you see it's constantly updating. It's constantly adding to your knowledge store. And this is much more powerful than using simple memory, because something like this, you can expand it. You can use it to improve future automations, and you can build up a dynamic knowledge base that's going to be more useful for client projects or for your own projects. And this is something that you can keep using. What's interesting about Zep is that if I close this and go into the users here, you can have multiple sessions. So a session is what you saw with the knowledge graph there, and that's basically just a knowledge store, right? But in the documentation, I haven't tested this, but it says in the API documentation that one user can have multiple sessions. So you can have multiple sessions with like an AI agency. If you have clients that have different requirements, you can all run it through the same user. And one more test I want to do, because I have the Perplexity node, is I want to ask it if there are any AI conferences in Singapore that are coming up. So first then, are there any AI conferences in Singapore in 2025? So if I go back here, it will then use Perplexity, and you can see the output. It says, yes, there are several AI conferences scheduled to take place in Singapore, and it's got the complete output. Again, if I go back into Zep and go to the knowledge graph, this should have been updated. So let's have a look if there is anything here. And what can we see? It's constantly updating. So you can see here that it's actually it's updated the n8n entity with Facebook, can use nodes for Twitter, Instagram, etc. This was for the blue widgets, but it takes a few minutes for it to update. So let me just give it a couple of minutes and I'll just see if it's updated this. If you think about it, traditional knowledge-based systems like Microsoft SharePoint are going to be obsolete, because you have a system or platform like Zep that's dynamic, that can grow, and it can build a knowledge graph based on relationships and entities. Then this is certainly the future. And obviously it's got the AI element, so you can then turn it into a RAG. And if you're running an AI agency or you want to sell this as a service, this is going to be huge. So to build this automation, I've used a chat trigger, but you can use any trigger that you want. And for the AI agent, this is just an AI agent node. I've connected it to the chat trigger as the prompt, and then I've given it a system message to use the Perplexity tool to search the web and respond to the user. So this is a very specific task if you want to expand beyond the scope of just an AI agent. And then for the language model, I've used Gemini 2.0 Flash because it's free and it's pretty quick. And then obviously for the memory, I'm using Zep. So this is just a Zep module. And if you want to connect it up, you just basically get the API key and you make sure that cloud is turned on if you are using this through the n8n cloud. So to find that, you just go back into Zep and you create a new project here. So just call it whatever you want, and you can create a project description as well. And then you just basically add a key here. So click on add key, get the API key, and then paste that over here. This worked because it's connected successfully. And then as an added bonus, if you want to use the search web capabilities, then attach a Perplexity node. You're going to need to connect to the Perplexity API, and you're probably going to need to top up something like $5 to $10 in credits. You want to select the message model operation, and for this model I've used Sonar, but there are better ones like Deep Research and Pro. Just bear in mind that they're going to take longer to return results and generate an output, and they're going to be more expensive because they use more tokens. So for this example, because I'm recording a video, I just use Sonar. And for the output, we then want to send whatever the agent generates back into Zep. So the easiest way to do this for now is to use the API. So if I go inside of here, it's a post method, and this is the endpoint, it's the sessions, and then you take your session ID, and the endpoint is memory. So to find that, you just go into users. So I've got one user here that I've created, which is me. And then here you've got a session ID. So this is the session that is attached to the graph, right? And so you grab this and you paste that here. And then for the credential type, I've just created a predefined credential so I don't have to keep typing it in. And then for the body, we're just going to toggle on send body. It's JSON. We're going to use JSON body. And this is a syntax that it's basically told us on Zep's API. So you don't need the user ID or the session ID inside of the JSON payload. All we need is the message, which is inside of an array. This is what this square bracket means. And then for the role type, it's user. The content is my input from the chat. And the role type assistant is the output from the AI agent, okay? And that's what gets sent into Zep, and that's what you see in the graph here. So if I go back into this, I'll show you what that looks like again, and this is the graph that will update based on the output. So you can see here, it's basically updated everything that we see based on the outputs and everything that I've asked it. And if you love this video, consider signing up to the private AI community for the Automation Kings. Inside here, I'll show you how you can use AI to make money. That's by either creating your own AI agency or an AI side hustle. So we've got a bunch of content in here, both from myself and from the members. And we also have classrooms that will show you how you can make money. This is the Launch Your AI Agency in 16 Days. So I run an AI agency. I do this full time, and that's my day job. And I've also got AI automations and blueprints. So you can see here that I've got AI automations for n8n, and I've also got them for Made.com. These will show you how to make money using AI. It's got the video tutorial. It's also got additional supporting material, and you've got the blueprint that you can upload inside of n8n. So it's literally drag and drop, upload it into your own n8n account, and you're good to go. The link is in the description. Click on that, just follow the on-screen instructions, and I'll see you on the next video. But before you sign off, just do me a solid, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, turn the notifications on, and I'll see you next time. Take care.